Whether 2 years or 2 days, whether Missouri or Oklahoma, Joplin and Moore have a lot in common. I'm KSPR's Joanna Small reporting live from Moore. I'll tell you how two pastors are sharing a very painful learning experience.
57% of the teens surveyed say they have texted while driving. 76% say they believe regular texters and drivers will eventually be killed in a car crash. 93% say they believe regular texters and drivers will eventually have some kind of a crash. So clearly there is a disconnect.
Oftentimes speed can be the biggest factor when it comes to eye injuries. So we decided to use our radar gun and put this thing to the test.
Our balloons topped out.
Oh my gosh, that was 94.
Well, believe it or not, this is actually where Katie Ratliff and her boyfriend Rodney Penny rode out the storm. They crawled down into this culvert, curled up together.
I'm going to use my cell phone. Granted, it has a smooth back, so not as much traction as a tire, but still. Well, think of your air conditioner like a propane tank. Inside of this tank, propane is a liquid, but turn the nozzle and it releases as a gas. And some people are collecting the Freon gas in balloons. She typically talks to patients for 1 or 2 hours a day. Having the mask on made it tough for her to be understood. It's so easy. First, you set up a fundraising page. Then you select a fundraising goal. Here is the pretty crazy part. Lofton is only going about 25 miles an hour. See? So imagine how much more difficult this is at higher speeds on the curvy county roads.
Joe, reporters pretty much do this all the time. We show up on your front porch, we say we are from KSPR, and then we just expect you to believe us. Well, the same thing basically happened to an Aurora family, only they were not believers, and the experts say they were probably right.
They caught John Kimberlin of Fair Grove actually trying to get out of this building. Police say he caused some damage to doors and windows, but the emotional damage for those who are a part of Head Start was really far worse.
We advise you, if you are traveling out there, definitely you want to take your time. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, nothing severe where we've been to this point. But let me show you what kind of technology we've been working with. We're in the Storm Chaser vehicle. This is the KSPR Storm Chaser. And inside here, I'm only going to open the door for a second because of the rain, but we've got it set up so we have our laptop and we're able to check radar. We can connect to the internet as we're driving down the highway. And of course, we're keeping in very close contact with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy. He's giving us updates as we continue our trek east towards Howell County and the West Plains area.
Lee, it's a very quiet, dark, and somber scene here on Trace Hollow Road, backing right up to Table Rock Lake, much like the news that an elderly man and woman were killed here tonight. They were a couple, a married couple. They were inside their home when it happened. The family showed up just as we did. We came just a few minutes before they did, and brand new Stone County Sheriff Doug Rader had to deliver that news. Obviously, he was very uncomfortable sharing the details of that conversation with us, a very difficult thing for him to talk about. I'm not standing in front of the home where it happened because Stone County Sheriff's deputies actually have the area blocked off. I'm at the top of the road.
KSPR reporter Joanna Small ran that race earlier today, and she joins us now live from Boston via Skype. Joanna, nice to see you there. Where were you when the bombs went off? Let's start with that.
I was about a block and a half away, Joe, and actually this is a really good time to show you this map. I don't know how well you can see it because it's Skype, but you see this circle right here? This is where the bombs exploded. This is the finish line. And then here where this X is where my husband Mark and I were standing.
What's going through your mind after that happens?
Oh, so much. So much when the marathon ended. I was happy, and Mark and I were celebrating. We were taking happy pictures, and then you hear these two explosions go off, and everything changes. And it doesn't matter anymore that you ran a marathon. It doesn't matter anymore that you're there with all these world-class runners, the best runners in the world, and it's this point that you work up to for years just to get there. All of a sudden, the only thing that matters is everybody okay? And they're not. And so when I think back on this day, I'm not going to think about the rape. I'm going to think about what happened in Boston and remember the people who lost their lives and lost limbs. And that's a horrible, tragic thing, and it changes everything.
Joe, unfortunately, this is pretty familiar to almost everyone in Joplin. I'm talking about this huge command center I'm standing in with tons of trucks. You've got satellite trucks, reporters like me everywhere, cameras, and then as far as the eye can see, off in that direction, buildings just leveled, houses gone where they once stood, and that was only Monday. But two Joplin pastors are not here. Instead, they are a couple of miles away, spending their painful anniversary showing people how to get ready for here.
So we know here was impact, then we have 72 hours.
It's kind of like watching the military discuss a plan of attack.
From the get-go, you need an exit strategy as a church.
As a church, these are church leaders, not soldiers. But like all soldiers, they've trained for this. And like many soldiers, they've been in a real battle zone too.
It took about 2 hours, and then from that point, we found out that our church wasn't hit, that we still had power, water, lights, everything was good to go. And so immediately we just said, all of our leadership, let's just get to the church, plan of how we're going to attack this. And so immediately what we did was we opened up our doors and people just started showing up. So it became a shelter overnight. It became a triage.
2 years ago today, 220 miles northeast of Moore, Shane Munn transformed Ignite Church into a disaster relief center for the people of Joplin. Now inside Journey Covenant Church, he's showing somebody else how to do it for their own heartbroken community.
You've heard of the term organized chaos. Well, for the Joplin pastors, that's exactly what this is. But 2 years ago in Joplin, it was a whole lot more chaos than it was organized. That's because back then, they were the ones doing the learning, and now they're doing the teaching.
How do we empower the organizations that live in this community to help these people? You know, we don't want to be the help. We just want to help others be the help here.
This whiteboard lays out the plan, not for today, not for tomorrow, but for a few weeks from now when these people go home and more is more alone.
What we want to be able to do is come in on the backside and create a system that's in place that they can shift into.
Because that's what God's army did for Shane, while he was busy doing everything he could to hold his town and himself together. 2 years ago, today.
We'll help you build your house. We'll get you a new car. We did those things. We help churches. We're here helping churches. But you can't give someone back their daughter or their son or their wife. So that was just those moments. I mean, to hold people that I had no answer to. God will get you through it. Tomorrow will come, and you'll get through it.
For about 6 months after the disaster, the Joplin Ignite Church's parking lot looked a whole lot like this one, pretty much a real disaster center. There were days when Shane says they were literally feeding thousands of people a day, and then as he explained, the need shifted. Now, coming up tonight at 6, you're going to hear a little bit more from Ignite Church's founder. He was in that story that we just featured. He's talking about something that he says a lot of people really don't want to talk about, but it is a reality that he and Joplin faced, and the people of Moore probably should prepare for too. That's depression. We'll have his story coming up tonight at 6, Joe. Lee, Park Place Apartments just off the Branson Strip is where things came to a head today, but it is certainly not where this story begins. This is where Desiree Clark lives. You may remember her from earlier this week. She is the victim of an alleged kidnapping in Springfield. She's the one who left a note in a gas station bathroom begging for help. A couple found that note and then came to her aid. She also has a baby girl with Sean Robertson, the man she says kidnapped and raped her. How quickly things have gone from terrible to horrific.
I took him out of the water. Gave him one last hug. He was my little brother. He was brave. I'm sure he fought.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he did.
Ivan Valentine says the man who kidnapped and raped his girlfriend earlier this week came to their Branson apartment complex, this time looking for him. Ivan says Sean Robertson threw a knife at him, then bolted into the woods, but not before drowning Ivan's 18-year-old brother in the bathtub.
It was just there at the wrong place at the wrong time.
It was just my little brother. That was enough for this bastard to kill him. Because he was caught.
Ivan's girlfriend, Desiree Clark, says Robertson is her ex-boyfriend and the father of her infant daughter. And had he been charged in last week's kidnapping, Ivan's brother would be alive.
I think this does not have to happen.
Everything can be prevented.
Everything could have been prevented.
Everything could have gone differently.
While the couple was talking to us, this piece of good news.
He was waiting right there. What do you think that means? They caught him.
They got him.
They got him?
They got him.
Oh.
Yeah, he went into the water, and they had to use a taser.
Oh, thank God.
Oh.
But he's in custody. But he's in custody.
Desiree and Ivan are only temporarily relieved. They say Robertson has been in prison before and come back with a vengeance.
If I would see him, I would absolutely kill him. And this is a confession. I would kill him, and I'll turn myself in. And I won't care. When people are saying he should suffer, no, he should just die. Suffering is a waste of time.
Ivan and his family are from Puerto Rico. He says his brother had only been in Branson since last summer. As for Desiree and her little girl, she says she would like for Ivan to adopt the baby. Also, Desiree says that she filed a restraining order against Sean Robertson, and there was a hearing scheduled for that restraining order this coming Tuesday.
Life moves fast, so fast. Sometimes we forget to think about what happens when it's over. No, not up there, down here. Suddenly, the world that seems to hold an infinite number of people in life can accommodate only a limited number in death.
It's just something most people just don't think about.
Jay Wasson isn't most people. He's been thinking about death for the last 30 years of his life. He's been on the board of Nix's Glen Cemetery that long, but the cemetery has been here much longer.
There's at least a dozen, I think, maybe as many as 18 or 20 Civil War veterans buried here.
Wasson worries that history's been forgotten.
Families, members die off. Others do replace them sometimes, but sometimes they don't. In my own family, a lot of my cousins don't live here anymore. They live elsewhere.
The cemetery, like so many in rural Christian County, relies almost solely on donations. And with expenses going up,
we're kind of in the hole every year.
And there aren't enough holes. These little cemeteries are filling up.
Part of the problem is Christian County is the fastest growing county in the state of Missouri. It grew by more than 66% in the 1990s and by more than 42% in the first decade of the new millennium. But cemeteries are not keeping up with the population. So when all these new residents die, where are they supposed to go?
We bought an extra acre.
But others have found alternatives.
The baby boomers have broken tradition.
Lynette Hall's Springfield-based urn business is booming as well. The cremation rate nationwide is 35% and growing.
When I first started this business, there were only 4 or 5 retailers because all of our business is online. So now there are hundreds, just in the last 5 years.
5 years, gone in a flash. And when the rest of Jay Wasson's years are gone with them, he knows where he'll go.
I've got my plots over here in my family line.
Do you?
It's definitely a problem.